Pine pollen is more than just pollen. It houses phytoandrogens, some of the most potent natural compounds known to influence the human endocrine system. Unlike synthetic testosterone, which the body perceives as a foreign agent, triggering a shutdown of its own production, these plant sterols are recognized by androgen receptors as native signaling molecules. This fundamental distinction determines the entire subsequent chain of hormonal reactions. It is the difference between the restoration and the destruction of the endocrine system. Observations reveal that they selectively activate receptors in muscle tissue, the skeletal system, and the nervous system. This shifts the hormonal profile from a survival mode into a state of full combat readiness. Traditional Chinese medicine has utilized pine pollen as a male tonic for over 2 millennia, understanding that the line between simple support and a total hormonal reboot is thinner than it appears to the uninitiated. The intrigue of pine pollen lies in its cumulative effect and the subtlety of its initial signs. A person starting with a high-quality product will not feel an instant jolt. First comes a strange clarity of consciousness, followed by a gradual reduction in chronic fatigue. Sleep becomes deeper, and recovery after physical exertion accelerates manifold. This is the signal. Phytoandrogens have begun modulating the endocrine glands at the cellular level. Clinical studies indicate that in China, since the 1980s, pine pollen has been used as an official adjunct in treating hormonal imbalances. This is not just a dietary supplement, it is a systemic update of the body's hormonal chain, recognized at the state level. The mystique of pine pollen manifests even when you do not see it in nature with your own eyes. There are documented cases where pharmaceutical companies lobbied for restrictions on pine pollen products in Western countries, simply classifying them as food supplements without the right to claim hormonal activity. The pollen literally changes the rules around itself, releasing biologically active compounds and filling the body with signaling molecules of testosterone, DHEA, and Androstenedione. Observers of the past noted that in East Asian regions where pine pollen was traditionally consumed as tinctures and powders, male health indicators were statistically higher by 20 to 25%. This is a physical reminder that pine pollen does not tolerate monopoly or pharmaceutical control in its zone of biological influence. Traditional knowledge always advised gathering pine pollen where it grows, in harmony with the forest and the natural cycles of spring blooming, rather than attempting to synthesize its active components within sterile laboratory walls. One of the darkest chapters in the history of andrology is the deliberate confusion between natural pine pollen and cheap synthetic analogs based on laboratory steroids. In the early 2000s, their marketing campaigns looked identical, entering the global market with promises of increased testosterone and male power. A mistake in product choice can cost years of quality health. One can obtain a temporary spike followed by a crash in their own production simply by adding a synthetic precursor to a capsule devoid of natural phytoandrogens. The traditional verification method is a rigorous study of the certificate for free amino acids and phytosterols. If there is no exact concentration of active substances, you are looking at a commercial dummy. Pine pollen seems to deliberately mimic ordinary floral dust, testing human vigilance and the right to use its ancient power. Comparing pine pollen with other androgenic supplements reveals its exceptional resilience to external conditions. While tribulus or puncture vine require specific cultivation conditions and careful environmental control, pine pollen is harvested from wild trees worldwide, serving as a natural concentrate of male energy. This pollen is a true strategist. It doesn't just flare up during the blooming season, it methodically maintains its hormonal activity by suppressing the aromatase enzyme and creating protective androgen colonies. Observing this expansion helps one understand why, in certain Far Eastern cultures, pine pollen was considered a symbol of longevity and hidden protection against age-related decline. In spring, the pine tree changes its survival tactics. Instead of active growth, it conserves active substances within pollen grains for the next generation. But it is precisely within these pollen grains that the concentration of testosterone and DHEA reaches its absolute peak. In scientific publications, these compounds were called hormonal keys, or molecules of male memory. Just a few milligrams of such phytosterols can activate thousands of androgen receptors in an adult human during a single blood circulation cycle. Observations show that even prostate cells often respond to activated androgen pathways, leaving the tissue vulnerable until the very last stages of development, a warning that this protection is not intended for passive inaction. In alchemical and Eastern medical traditions, pine pollen was considered a conductor between male power and decline, between vital energy and exhaustion. It was used in rituals requiring deep restoration of vital forces or communication with the body's internal energy. It was believed that pine pollen extract opens a second wind, but the price of this gift is the iron discipline of daily intake over months. Pine pollen is the warrior's pollen. It stands on the threshold of hormonal balance and pathology, guarding the boundary between them. The intrigue lies in the fact that its availability is merely a deceptive mask. Behind its outward simplicity hides molecular complexity capable of bypassing any pharmaceutical patents within decades of research, draining scientific works of all resources and leaving behind only a dead zone for competitors. If you see a single pine pollen product on a shop shelf, know that you are seeing only a finger of a massive industry hidden beneath the market's surface. The pine tree possesses a powerful root network that connects hundreds of trees into a single superorganism within the forest ecosystem. Traditional observations of pine growth show that it doesn't just grow in the woods, it captures territory, spreading for kilometers underground. This subterranean network transmits danger signals and distributes nutrients throughout the colony of trees. It is an intriguing example of collective intelligence in the plant world, available for study. Pine pollen cannot be destroyed by harvesting a single crop. Its strength lies in the hidden community of trees that can produce pollen for years and awaken when conditions become ideal for reproduction. In a forest where every plant is someone's target or food, the pine stands untouched for decades. Neither insects, nor fungi, nor other plants touch it without extreme necessity. This is the highest degree of biological sovereignty in the natural world. Pine pollen produces flavonoids and terpenoids that, upon attempted oxidative invasion, trigger an antioxidant explosion at the cellular level, complementing the phytoandrogen strike with a dual mechanism of protection. Pine pollen is a fortress with multi-level defense, chemical, hormonal, and biological. Observing this phenomenon makes one wonder how many more protective mechanisms are hidden from us in this simple-looking pollen gathered from trees in the spring. Medical history knows pine pollen as salvation and as a challenge to the existing paradigm of treatment. Extracts from it were used to stimulate the hormonal system when other means were powerless against age-related decline. But preparing such a potion is a path along a razor's edge, requiring precision and knowledge. The slightest deviation in extraction technology turns the elixir of male power into useless powder without biological activity. In traditional practices, the preparation of tinctures and powders was accompanied by strict protocols and multi-level quality control, emphasizing the sacred fear of this pollen's power and the master's responsibility. Today, synthetic androgens have partially replaced the extract in Western medicine, but pine pollen remains a symbol that nature does not grant healing without deep knowledge and respect. In the modern world, pine pollen continues to be an object of study and admiration for scientists. Its synthesized analogs have been used in Asian clinics for over 40 years, yet no chemist has been able to accurately recreate the delicate synergy of components that living pollen provides in its natural form. This reminds us that nature keeps secrets that cannot be fully decoded or copied in a laboratory. Pine pollen stands guard at the boundaries between the pharmaceutical world and primordial natural medicine, reminding us that behind the most inconspicuous appearance may hide a powerful hormonal mechanism. The ancient lineage of this pollen roots back to times before the world was subdued by man and his technology. Pine pollen teaches us that strength often hides behind the most modest form and unremarkable appearance. Its intrigue is that it doesn't look valuable to the untrained eye. Unlike expensive supplements with bright packaging and loud promises, it invites contact through its humble appearance and forest origin, stripped of marketing fluff. But this contact can be the first step for those who have restored their vigilance and taken responsibility for their health. Understanding pine pollen is a path to understanding the true structure of hormonal health, where behind every imbalance stands a weakness of the endocrine system, and behind every gift of nature comes its price in discipline and attention. Subscribe to our channel to rediscover the world of natural adaptogens that surround us every day in forests and parks. Do not let the system think for you or make decisions about your health without your participation. Seek truth where they try to hide it behind patents and trade secrets. Restore your connection with nature. Take responsibility for your life and remain sovereign in choosing what enters your body. Pine pollen is not just a supplement, it is a key to understanding how the male hormonal system works at a fundamental level. In upcoming episodes, we will examine specific intake protocols, dosages, and combinations with other adaptogens. We will talk about how to distinguish a high-quality product from a counterfeit, what certificates to demand from manufacturers, and which markings to watch out for. Knowledge is the only protection in a world where profit is often placed above health. Remember this when making your choice. The forest remembers everything. Trees keep the memory of generations. The pine awaits those ready to hear its quiet voice amidst the noise of marketing promises. The choice is yours. Continue living in ignorance or take a step toward understanding the true mechanisms of hormonal defense that nature refined for millions of years before man appeared. History is written by those who dare to look beyond permitted knowledge. Professional sports have hidden this secret for decades. Why do champions use pine pollen instead of synthetic anabolics? The answer is simple. Nature does not produce side effects that destroy the liver and suppress your own hormone production. Synthetic testosterone is a loan at a predatory interest rate. You get a quick result, but you pay with years of endocrine recovery. Pine pollen works differently. It doesn't replace your hormones. It teaches your body to produce them correctly. This is not a loan, it is an investment. The difference between a temporary spike and long-term restoration. Athletes who understand this difference win not just medals, but their health after their careers end. Those who choose synthetics often pay the price with infertility, depression, and cardiovascular disease. In the 1990s, several Olympic teams in East Asia included pine pollen as a mandatory part of their athletes' diets. The results were staggering. Recovery after training accelerated by 30%. Muscle mass grew steadily without hitting plateaus, and cortisol levels remained normal even under extreme loads. But this information was never published in Western sports journals. Why? Because the sports nutrition industry is worth billions of dollars. If athletes started using pollen costing $10 a month, who would buy proteins, pre-workouts, and synthetic testosterone boosters for hundreds of dollars? The answer is obvious. The system protects its profits, not the health of athletes. Pine pollen contains over 200 active compounds, including all 8 essential amino acids, vitamins B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, vitamin C, vitamin E, and more than 20 minerals. This is not just an androgenic supplement, it is a full spectrum of nutrition for the male body. Synthetic analogs provide a single component and create an imbalance across the entire system. Observations of long livers in regions where pine pollen is consumed traditionally show that men maintain hormonal activity into deep old age. In some Chinese villages, the average age of fatherhood exceeds 50 years. This is not genetics, this is a lifestyle and access to natural sources of androgens. The aromatase enzyme converts testosterone into estrogen. With age, its activity increases, leading to the feminization of the male body. Pine pollen contains aromatase inhibitors that block this process naturally. Synthetic inhibitors produce side effects on the liver and kidneys. Natural ones work in harmony with the system. The global decline in testosterone levels in men is not a natural process. Over the last 40 years, average testosterone levels have dropped by 25%. Plastics, pesticides, soy, alcohol, these are all xenoestrogens that mimic female hormones in the male body. Pine pollen is the antidote that nature gave us for free. But the system does not want you to know this. Pharmacies sell synthetic testosterone for hundreds of dollars a month. Forests give pine pollen for free to those who know when and how to harvest it. The difference between dependency and sovereignty, the choice between being a client of the pharmaceutical system or being the master of your own health. Harvesting pine pollen is a ritual. Spring, morning hours, dry weather. You shake the branches over a clean surface, gather the golden dust, and dry it at room temperature. No chemicals, no extraction, no loss of active substances. A process that connects you with nature and reminds you where true strength comes from. Those who have tried real pine pollen describe a feeling of returning home. The energy is not aggressive like with synthetics, but calm and steady. Libido is restored gradually, without sharp spikes. Mood stabilizes, and depressive episodes vanish. This isn't a high, it is a return to the norm you had in your 20s. But there is a catch. 99% of products on the market are junk. Pollen is harvested incorrectly, dried at high temperatures, and stored for years without protection from moisture. Active substances are destroyed, and you receive just a protein powder labeled pine pollen. Certificates are forged, composition isn't verified, and buyer trust is exploited. How to tell the difference? The color should be bright yellow, not dull. The smell, fresh pine, not musty. Consistency, fine powder, not clumpy. When dissolved in water, there should be a slight oily film, a sign of phytosterols. If the pollen simply settles at the bottom without a trace, it is an old or improperly processed product. The third test is taste. Real pine pollen has a slightly bitter, resinous aftertaste. If it's sweet or tasteless, it's a fake. The fourth test is the effect. Real pollen provides tangible changes within 2 to 3 weeks. If after a month nothing has happened, you have wasted your money. Storage is critical. Pine pollen must be in an airtight container, in the refrigerator, protected from light. At room temperature, active substances degrade within 6 months. In the freezer, they are preserved for years. This is a living substance, not a dry powder. Dosage is individual. Start with half a teaspoon a day and track your condition. After a week, increase to a full teaspoon. The maximum safe dose is 3 teaspoons a day. More is not better. Androgen receptors have a saturation limit. Combinations enhance the effect. Zinc increases the absorption of phytoandrogens. Vitamin D3 works synergistically with testosterone. Ashwagandha lowers cortisol, which suppresses androgen production. Tribulus increases receptor sensitivity. But the foundation is the pollen. The rest is support. Contraindications exist. A history of prostate cancer is an absolute contraindication. Autoimmune diseases require medical consultation. Age under 18, the hormonal system is still forming and intervention is not recommended. Pregnancy and lactation in women. While pollen is also used by women, caution is required during these periods. The system will tell you it's dangerous, that there are no studies, that it's quackery. But those same people sell you synthetic testosterone with a long list of side effects: acne, balding, prostate enlargement, suppression of spermatogenesis, depression, aggression. Where's the logic? The truth is that pine pollen threatens the business model. If men realized they could restore testosterone naturally for pennies, the industry would lose billions. Therefore, articles about unproven effectiveness are created, restrictions are lobbied, and misinformation is spread. But the forest does not lie. The pine has no motive to hide or distort. It has simply been growing and producing pollen for millions of years, long before pharmacies, before pharmaceutical corporations, before marketing departments. Nature does not need your belief. It works regardless of your opinion. The question isn't whether pine pollen works. The question is whether you are ready to take responsibility for your health. Are you ready to spend time searching for a quality product, studying protocols, and tracking results? Or is it easier to buy a pill and hope the system will take care of you? But the system does not care. The system sells. The system creates dependency. The system makes you a client for life. Pine pollen makes you free. One harvest season and you have a year's supply. One tree and you have a source for decades. This isn't just about testosterone, it's about sovereignty, about the right to control what enters your body, about refusing to be a lab rat in a pharmaceutical experiment, about returning to the roots where health was a human responsibility, not a commodity for sale. The forest remembers everything. Trees keep the memory of generations. The pine awaits those ready to hear its quiet voice amidst the noise of marketing promises. The choice is yours. Continue living in ignorance or take a step toward understanding the true mechanisms of hormonal defense that nature refined for millions of years before man appeared. History is written by those who dare to look beyond permitted knowledge. Pine pollen is the key. The door is open. Will you enter? Subscribe, like, and share this video with those who still don't know about the power that falls from the trees every spring. In the next episode, we will show a specific protocol for harvesting, drying, and storing pine pollen. You will see with your own eyes how to distinguish high-quality pollen from a fake. We will invite experts who have worked with pollen for over 20 years, and they will share secrets you won't find on the internet. Don't miss it, because spring will come again. The pines will bloom again, and you will have a choice: to gather the golden dust of sovereignty or to buy synthetic dependency in beautiful packaging. The choice, as always, is yours. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and remember, nature doesn't hide its secrets. It waits for those ready to see them. Testosterone under your feet, power in the pollen, freedom in knowledge.